Okay, good evening. We are now streaming live. Thank you very much to Sandra and everybody else that is connecting to us tonight for our podcast tonight. Sandra, how are you?
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. We have people from all over the world.
Yes, indeed. Isn't that wonderful?
Yes, it is wonderful. Nice to meet you all, and thank you very much for inviting you again, Daniela.
Yes, it's an absolute pleasure. We had such an amazing time last summer when you joined us, and you have such an amazing and outstanding knowledge on different topics, particularly when it comes to spirituality, philosophy. And tonight I have decided to bring you on board again to discuss about, to start with talking about science versus spirituality, because this is quite of a big issue, isn't it?
Absolutely. Is for the longest time, and people still nowadays make that big distinction, big separation between science and spirituality, and it's like enemies, right? Worst enemies of each other, and especially Christianity has made such a strong case, and then science afterwards, right? More and modern times, and but finally we are in a moment that we are integrating both sides of humanity, because they are both sides of us, of humanity. So God created us with a brain, with a heart, with a spirit, with a body, with everything. So we need to live integrating all those aspects of ourselves in order to reach happiness and health. And also because this is how we evolve, right? How we evolve as spirits.
Right.
So by developing our intellect, we kind of develop our spirits. So and we can talk more about that as we go in a process, in a program. But so that's a wonderful thing moment that we are living now.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that. I would like to say also welcome to our followers here on Zoom, and there are more people joining us if we give a bit longer time onto our Facebook page. So welcome Phil and Trisha and Val. And so there is this ongoing issue, not issue, but question of how we can relate to spirit and us passing on to the next level of life. So when we talk about mediumship, we don't talk about death, but we're talking about life. And mediumship has a lot to do with proving life beyond. Often I have touched base in the past regarding the near-death experience, which I have also experienced as an 8-year-old child, right? So for me, this has never been a question of the existence of our soul, like the progression, if you like, of our soul onto the next level, or as others would put it, the return back to source. Okay, so which is also very important because there is evolution, not only as experience here on earth as human beings, but also an evolution of our soul beyond. Okay, how do you try to integrate the science and spirituality in your own experience as a medium, perhaps?
I think we can integrate in multiple ways. So when we study things through science or any other means, like people don't have the access or didn't have the opportunity to engage with science, by reading things, reading books, and learning about things in a deeper way, we definitely expand our minds and we expand our ways of understanding our own spirituality, our own selves, and also help others, right? Mm-hmm. So science is like cognition in general, like our intelligence, with whichever way we can develop it, is a very important way to develop our spirituality. So in the studies of Allan Kardec, I'm sorry, I really like to refer him because he was one of the first scientists in spiritualism. In the studies of Allan Kardec, he in connection with the spirits, the spirits answer questions from the scientists about everything, about life after that, about everything. So, and we have also seen so many evidences that people, when we pass, when we die, we carry our luggage, our knowledge. So everything we learn here is part of our spirituality. So, for example, if like Einstein or his wife, like very, very not mentioned, she was also a really brilliant scientist. So they carry this innate knowledge about mathematics. Of course, they went to school, they developed, but their aptitude was not from this life. There's no way that a child can develop from zero an aptitude to something. So Mozart composed his first symphony at 5 years old. How he could ever have even the ability neurologically to understand the complexity of music and to be able to develop and compose such a complex symphony at the age of 5. So his brain was not even developed enough to understand the complex language of music, because to compose is a very complex thing, it's a very abstract thing that involves mathematics, involves counting, involves so many things that a child 5 years old would not be able to have. So he definitely carried that from past lives. So everything we accumulate, we learn, we take over with our spirit, and that also helps humanity to evolve. Because, for example, we have medicine, right? We have so many different treatments nowadays that we didn't have thousands of years ago. And why we have accumulated all this knowledge, and how useful those things are, right? Like medicine can save lives, physics, engineering, all parts of science can really improve our lives, our human beings' lives. Look at what we are having right now, right? The technology, like we are being able to talk with people simultaneously and see each other all over the world through these wonderful meetings through Zoom. And so this is thanks to technology, the evolvement, the development of science. So this is like helps humanity to grow in all aspects of ourselves. So and that's something very important that we need to kind of understand and rule out the myth that spirituality is just pray and be like detached from our mind. It's not true. It's not true. Our spirituality depends on our cognition. Everything in our bodies, in our lives, is interconnected.
Right.
So when we learn, when we develop our knowledge about ourselves, for example, through therapy, through our spiritual journey, we are more able to understand others, to have more compassion towards others, to have healthier relationships,
Yes.
to be able to love others in a healthier way, and that's through science.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I have a couple of things that come to mind as you were talking. First of all, it is also true that as we acquire knowledge and we move on with it onto the other side, it is true when I have been starting training recently on trance healing. And one of the things you do with trance healing is you send a request to the body of scientists who are in spirit, and you ask them for them to send any specialist from anywhere in the world to step forward the next day to assist the healer to actually bring the healing onto the person. And this is the way I've learned it. So we would have like specialist doctors, like German doctors or whoever, whatever, stepping forward to help with the healing of that person. So that absolutely makes sense to me, what you've been just saying, basically. And the other thing that you were mentioning is that the more we get to know ourselves through investigating our own psyche, as we do self-analysis, whether we go and see a psychologist, or there are so many ways to do some, do yourself, like lots of handbooks on self-development. And it is true that the more we understand ourselves, the more we actually become more understanding of others, because we get in touch with the depth of our inner journey and our complexity. And I'm not talking about thoughts, how we actually work on our inner conscious, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's like, as mediums, right? I think all of you who are mediums that are here together today in this meeting can attest that people, like, sometimes they suffer from depression, they suffer from anxiety, from all sorts of problems. And when they go through the spiritual world, they understand things better. They somehow apologize for the mistakes they made because of their diseases, their disorders and stuff with their loved ones. And they are able to understand things better. So body, mind, and spirit are interconnected, and we need to kind of take care of our body, take care of our minds in a physical world, because it's through them that we are able to express and evolve our spirits. So we are here in each incarnation, we have a mission. We have somehow like, it's like a grade, right? We go through grades at school, right? And we need to accomplish some tasks. We need to learn some things. The teachers teach something, and we need to go to practice and do the homework. And
Yes.
then when we learn everything, we graduate and go to the next grade. So it's the same thing in life. So the incarnations are the schools, this school where we need to practice and really learn. We can learn intellectually, like kind of the idea, have the concept when we are in a spiritual world, but to really learn and to practice and to do the homework and stuff and do the exams are through the incarnation. So, and our incarnations depend on our body and our mind, and the development of both is part of our spiritual growth.
Absolutely. And this is what they say. A lot of spiritual people that, do the channeling, and they find out about spirit, and, that it's exactly as you say, that we are the moment we are born. It's the moment when we have elected and chosen to be born, to experience life on earth and to learn about ego and learn about our psyche and how we develop our experience through interrelationship with other beings. And my understanding is also that the intrinsic nature of being human, it's for God to experience emotion and evolution through our personal experience, because we are a divine spark. And this is what I hear. So God is all that is and the perfection in itself. But God, what I heard and I read is that God wanted to come forward and experience the evolution of the emotions on earth. And I know that may sound a bit out there, but this is yet again another, theory of why God has enabled or allowed us to incarnate and to have this experience. Because as we carry God inside of us, God is experiencing life on earth through us. And this is what I heard. So how about music in spiritual development and emotional development as well? How can music help us?
Sure. I'd just like to make a comment about your last comment. And it's very interesting that we are definitely part of the divine, and we are definitely part of this huge universe that was created by God, and God is part of it. But we need to kind of also understand, like sometimes people make confusions about being part of God as like, there's a difference between being part of God and being God, right? Or being used by God. So God created us individually. We all are individuals separated from each other with our own identities and our own journey, our own responsibilities, and our own rewards for whatever choices we make. So God knows everything. His own omniscience, he knows everything. He doesn't need to experience things through us. And that's something that like spirits do sometimes. Like not so evolved spirits do. There's a beautiful book called Sex and Destiny. Is a direct reading book from this the spirit of Emmanuel and through the medium Chico Xavier, and was the observations from the spirits through the lives of certain families that the spirit was related to before he passed. And there's like so many incidents where the spirits that are not so evolved, they are invasive, they are not so ethical, they really use us to their own pleasures. So experiencing sexual pleasure in a vain way, in a vulgar way, or vices, smoking and drinking and drugs and stuff. They use us if we leave any crack, if you have any cracks on our aura, if you're not so well emotionally or physically, we are depart from God for a little bit, is enough for them to jump and use us. And we think that we are doing those things. We are having those desires, but in fact we are being influenced by them. And and their guides and their angels are not able to help because light doesn't mix with the darkness. And so the incarnated being, the spirit that is incarnated, is the one who needs to make a decision, even if they are not well yet, they are needing help and assistance, they are in a state of sickness, but if they ask for help, they want to overcome those problems, and they ask for help, then it's possible, then their guides and angels can come and help and stuff. But that's why it's so important for us to take care of our body and our minds, because if we are not well, the negative spirits, they take over, and they take over our minds, and we think that we are thinking those things, we are doing those things, we are desiring those things, but in fact it's them using us, our physical body, because they cannot feel the things that we can feel when we have a body. So so all those things are very important. So in terms of music and development, spiritual development is a fascinating field, because music is so profound, much more profound than people imagine. So in an individual level, in a psychological level, music and sound is the very first thing that the baby feels before they are born. Right. So the first connection with the world is through sound. So they hear the voice of the mother, they hear the beating of the mother's heart, the blood flowing through the veins, all the liquids and the chemical reactions that are happening in the mom's body and the womb. The baby can feel, and the rhythms and all that. So it's a very visceral relationship that we have with our existence and with our world. So that's why music puts us in a state of reconnecting with each other, reconnecting with the universe, reconnecting with our own source. And so in terms of treatment, so everything, because we have this visceral, unconscious, subconscious, and unconscious relationship with the sound, music goes straight to the unconscious. So all the experiences we have in our lives, conscious or unconscious, is imprinted in our DNA through music and through sound and rhythms and everything, and we don't even know. Mm-hmm. So when we use certain frequencies to heal certain diseases, is very effective, because our body responds, our body knows their language, even if we don't know. So
we're talking about the parasympathetic system, where the body reacts. Yes.
Parasympathetic system, exactly. That's the part of our neurological system that reacts without even we are aware, like it's automatic. So when
the brain doesn't give the input to the organs to carry out their task, the organs just do it, isn't it? And
exactly.
Lots of pathways, neurological and at cellular levels, that do respond to that. And I suppose this is exactly what you're talking about.
Absolutely. So, and it's fascinating. So I have been studying music and brain for so many years, and that's actually what brought me to the United States. I was doing a research as a psychologist and music therapist in a hospital, working with comatose patients in a hospital in an intensive care unit. So they all like unconscious, right? Comatose state. And I was invited by the medical team to develop this system to use music as a stimulation for the brain. And it was an experimental research. So I was doing with a professor from the Federal University in Paraná. So I used to travel 6 hours to have supervision. So it was quite a journey. So And my professor had connections with NYU, and they invited me to come and develop this research further. But it still have a lot to be learned. But I learned a lot through this experience in terms of how much the neurology doesn't know about the brain. And people sometimes are in a Glasgow 4 stage of coma, which is the deepest stage of coma. We are not responsive to pain, to anything, and they respond to music. So through music, music that is important, that's somehow emotionally associated with their own lives. They respond, their body functions change. They even react. There was a lady, an old lady. She was like, this was in Brazil, right? But she was a German lady, and she was a big fan of Tchaikovsky music. So in her session, I would put like the headphones, because the patients are sharing the room with other patients in ICU. But so I used headphones individual for her. The family would be her headphones, so to avoid contamination and all that. So, and I would put her selection of music, which was presented by her family during the interview. And so, and that's the interesting thing, because through other kinds of music that we consider calming, she would be agitated. She would not respond. Sometimes she get her heartbeat would be faster and stuff. She was not happy. So, and through Tchaikovsky, everybody that knows Tchaikovsky is very intense. Those symphonies are like shaking, like buildings and neighborhoods. They are extremely violent music per se, like beautiful, but extremely intense. And her heartbeat would calm down, her blood pressure would lower, and she would breathe like in a slower pace. And there was a moment, and remember, she was absolutely unresponsive to anything. And there was a moment where during the concert that she was listening, she raised her hand and was conducting the sound with the rhythm. She was conducting the sound with her hands, her arms, in the proper rhythm of the sound. And then after the music was off, she went back to not moving, and she didn't wake up that day. She continued in a coma. So
unbelievable.
It's fascinating
experience for you, and fascinating, as you say.
Absolutely. And there was like a whole like spiritual thing going on out there. So them encountering their loved ones, and all this is not in the research because it was not, it's not at that time was not academically welcome. But I mean, for us, it's just fascinating to see that they are 100% aware. Spiritually, their spirits are aware. They are alive. They are not unconscious or anything. Mm-hmm. So, the healing is, in a physical level, and an emotional level, and a spiritual level. There's also a wonderful book, I don't know if I mentioned the other time, Daniela, that's called... another book that was direct written by Chico Xavier through the spirit of Dr. André Luiz. Did I mention that last time?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, André Luiz.
So in this, in this book, so for those who were not here the previous time, so it was transformed translated to the English with the title Astro City, and there's a movie now also based on the book, and is available on Amazon. So I really recommend you all to purchase and watch it, because it's fascinating. So the experience is there, and one of the treatments that the spirits are. So let me go back. So this book is about his experience, the experience of the Dr. André Luiz when he was in the spiritual world. So after he passed, he went to this place and he shares all his experience first. So he was in a dark place because he was disconnected with God. He was confused and all that. And he had some problems with drinking. This is not really shown in his biography and stuff. But he had some problems. And so right after he passed, he was not in an very good emotional state. So he went through a dark place, and then afterwards he finally understood, and he got in a state of desperation, and he asked for help, and immediately the help came and brought him to this place where he could receive the treatment. And afterwards he was able to use his own experience as a doctor to be a doctor in the spiritual world as well. He needed to learn, because it was not the same, right? It was not people with physical bodies. He needed to learn more sophisticated ways of healing and stuff. But it was fascinating. And one of the treatments that people there was submitted was sitting around the lake and listening to some music. So everybody had a role in that place, that colony, that spiritual colony. If everyone used their own expertise that they have developed in previous lives. So the musicians would play instruments or sing and do the music to heal others. The doctors would, and nurses would help people. And at that time was the time of the war, the Second World War. So a lot of people were leaving the earth after the war. So everything that we learn, every expertise we develop is useful to the spiritual world here and hereafter. Is something that we carry, and music is one of them. And music is very underrated in our world, right? Musicians are not valued.
Yes. No, absolutely not. And this is why I felt like almost compelled actually to reinvite you again to explain these very fine nuances between, the arts and particularly the value and the role that music has for us human beings since the moment we are in our mother's tummy, all the way to actually when we are living, and even in a comatose state, as you explained earlier on, we can still react because our soul does recognize that at a very deep level. I have someone called Love and Peace that has been very kindly putting a lot of comments, but I didn't want to interrupt while you were talking. And she's saying that we are all spiritual beings living a human experience, some just more awakened than others, and that's all. This is spiritual age. And I think she was talking about, in one of her comments, about music as well. Psychic empaths pick up vibrations, and other highly sensitive people, and so pick up vibrations more than we all do. Music is vibration too, and its frequency of vibration tunes us into a highly vibration, and we can tune music into helping us within music therapy, same as singing. I think that singing also creates a type of vibration, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yes.
Alongside the music, obviously. Are they do, I know that obviously music accompanies the voice, but would they be vibrating at different levels or not?
What do you mean?
Someone singing and the music is the music created by an instrument more highly attuned to certain vibrations, or does it really matter comparing to someone's voice singing?
I think that the difference is the skill that is required to sing and to play an instrument is the same. Like it requires a lot of skills and stuff, and it's wonderful and healing. I think the difference is that our instrument, our voice, was created by God, and our other instruments we created, and it's not as perfect as our voice, right?
Yes.
As our body. So that's the difference. But there's like a specialized kind of music therapy that was developed by a professor in São Paulo University that is only using voice. And what she says, what she did and learned and researched and worked through her therapeutic approach is that the kind of sounds we produce is a consequence of our emotional state and our emotional self. Sometimes we think that, oh, this is my voice. Mm-hmm. To some extent it's true, but how we use our voice is different depending on our state of mind and our state of evolution as a spirit as well, I would say.
It's quite different. It's quite a substantial difference, isn't it?
Yes.
Between our voice and an instrument, because what we bring in is actually that level of emotion that we can express, yes. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
And our own feelings that is carried through this, and our own hearts and stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah. And Bill is mentioning, if music be the food of love, 1 second. If music be the food of love, play on, give me excess of it. And this is a quote from Shakespeare.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, it is. It is the food of love.
It's the food of love, give excess of it, of course. Yes.
We all feel the love when we are around music. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And what a blessing that we have Barbara De Lea joining us as well. Good evening, Barbara. As you are talking, Sandra, we've had a number of people joining us, from Debbie Romero to Jeanette Nunes, Eva Burestam, good evening, everyone. Stacy Sparkle, Patrick Monaghan, Iris, and others. So thank you, all of you and more that are joining through this evening. So it's, isn't it amazing how we are on this journey of discovery, and suddenly there is this sudden need for everyone to attend a sound bath. And I don't know in the US, but in the UK, it's a very, very popular.
Yeah, it's a fever here too. So it is wonderful. So it's for those who never experienced, it's like pretty much vibration, right? Like people produce different frequencies through those singing bowls, either metal or crystal singing bowls, and then they play, and the vibration takes the room, and they do different harmonies with the singing bowls, and then the gong is extremely powerful, and we feel like our whole DNA being shaking. Is so amazing.
So true. So true. So powerful. It just goes deep within.
Yeah. So the power of percussion, right? Again, the experience that we have in the mother's womb. So we feel that feeling of coziness and going back home, right? And feeling reconnected with our source and our own beginning of our lives. And even though we cannot hear sounds in any space, there are sounds produced as well, because we are equipped to perceive vibrations that are part of our world here on Earth. Yes. But there are sounds, and there are all sorts of symphonies in the universe as well being produced. So
yes, and we have Jennifer Partridge joining us and saying music is used with people with complex learning difficulty.
Absolutely, yes. So yeah, that's the other attribute of music is that it triggers and stimulates different parts of the brain that the voice or speaking or any other mean of treatment cannot access. For example, I have worked with other kinds of neurological patients, people sometimes with brain injury or have have gone through a stroke or something. They are paralyzed or they could not speak or they need to learn a lot of functions because their brain was damaged. And through music associated with all the other treatments, their recovery is much faster. So there's like a specialty, course specialty that I did in the Colorado State University that's like neurological music therapy, that is like exactly that, associating music therapy to other modalities of treatment, physical therapy, speech therapy, and some other things. And the patient develops and recover much faster. So they are not able to move their legs through the movements and how's it called, the instruments there during the physical therapy. But when they introduce the music, they are able to move and stuff, and the speech therapy as well. With autistic kids that are like really low function, that they cannot speak, we use sound, singing to communicate. So either just instrumental or songs. We put everything in songs, and they are able to develop their speech through the sound and through the songs. So it's just like how music has the ability to integrate both hemispheres of the brain and stimulate the brain in a way that we function better in every aspect, and is healing in so many fascinating ways.
Wow, absolutely true. And it is also true, I mean, I must admit myself, when driving for an evening of demonstration, spiritual demonstration, or evening, or just a demonstration, daytime as well, like service, a Sunday service, I put on the music from the 80s and the 90s, because by the time I arrive at destination, I feel my vibrations quite high, and I'm therefore able to hook and maintain my connection to spirit to a certain level and standard, because I have prepared myself. And some people prefer to do meditation, and that's what I used to do at the beginning of my mediumship work. But now, as I progressed and evolved with my connection to spirit, I find that listening to music or to songs actually raises my own vibrations as well.
Absolutely. We all have experienced that, right? One way or the other. And what is inspirational for me is not necessarily for you, is not necessarily for Phil or Val. We have our own language, our own repertoire that pertains to us, related to our own spirit, our own essence, and also our own life experience. So for someone who were born 10 years ago, the 80s and 90s music don't say anything for them sometimes. Like my daughter's an old soul. She loves 80s music, even though she was born in the 2000s, but it's not all the kids that respond well. So
yes.
But it's individual, yeah, and it definitely raises our
vibrations. And Lady in Peace again, I apologize, I don't know your name. She's actually saying, and I must thank for this. I must say, holding this Zoom is fantastic, with great people, for providing such a great platform of knowledge and awareness. And pleasure to meet you all. And just to say, what a a pleasure, Sandra, to have here, because, you know, every time that you come along, you know, you provide with a wealth of not just personal, professional experience in your specific field, but you can actually cross-reference between different topics, which are very important to us as human beings, which are like not just the psychology side of delving into our emotional state of being, which raises us towards closer to God or to the divine or to the universe, but also, for instance, in this case today, with your personal experience and development with music. And so Love and Peace again is saying theatre, music and film for children and people with autism to Asperger's spectrum is stronger as their senses are heightened due to the being upon the spectrum.
Yes, absolutely. They are highly sensitive for sounds usually. Yes. For music, for everything. Their perception to the world, the way they perceive the world is much enhanced than we are, than people that are neurotypical. And so they respond very well to music and all that, vibrations and stuff. So Val has made a comment here. We had pipe music in labor ward, and babies in utero would respond to the sound being played. Yeah, it's not fascinating. Yes, I have experienced that too with some patients in the hospital. That's amazing. And Phil also have made a comment here. I often listen to the final movement of Sansan Organ Symphony before I do trance demo, which has been profound, has a profound effect on spiritual connection. Yes, that's fascinating. I love that symphony as well. It's really, really touching. Yes. Absolutely.
It's beautiful. And yeah, I have heard actually about music being used in a labor ward for babies who respond really, really well to you know, to work. And as this reconnects, in fact, to what you were mentioning earlier on, right, about music talking to us when we are in adult age, you know, and helping us to relax. We were just mentioning earlier on about the sound baths that we all resonate to so well. Is there any advice you may want to give us in terms of music and, you know, when we are in a moment where we need a pick me up? Is there anything that, you know, because of these days and age, often people sing when they're happy, right? Because it does keep that high vibration. But what happens if we're feeling low? Is there any specific music that we can help, we can use to help ourselves feel better, perhaps?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. I always encourage people to indulge in things that they know and they like, right? Like I have taught music and singing for a while, and I used to hear a lot like, I cannot sing. I don't have these skills to sing, and I would love to sing. But what I have always said is that everybody can sing. We may not have the aptitude. For example, I am not a good dancer, but I love to dance. So, but when I'm by myself, I do dance because that makes me happy. And so if we don't feel confident or comfortable, we don't need to go through a stage, right? You don't need to sing in a carnegie hall, and you know, but you can sing in your bed, taking a shower, you can sing in your room, cooking your meals, or, you know, as you water your plants at home. So I encourage everyone to reconnect that with that aspect of ourselves that is intrinsic of our existence. Our world has separated us from so many aspects of ourselves. like compartmentalized and broke us into pieces. And that's the moments that we are now in a moment of reconnecting ourselves with each other, with ourselves, and with God. And that means that all of you can learn things. If you have learning disability, you can learn through doing things, through planting, through touching the earth, or to doing something with your hands, some kind of abstract painting, through, whatever it suits you and it makes you happy. Everybody can sing. I encourage everyone to sing, because this is healing. Whenever you can, put music, to listen to music, but also participate, because your participation with music, it brings you to the next level of healing as much as you can. So do movements, use your body to move in the rhythm of the music, sing, even if it's not in tune, sing by yourself. It's not a problem. Make rhythms, do rhythms with pots and pans, I don't care, use everything you have at home to experience music, to experience this vibration, and do your self-healing through everything you can, and also indulge in things that through which you can learn.
Because my understanding is that through singing and dancing, therefore moving the body and singing, but also artistic endeavors like painting and other things actually help the brain heal. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. It's a channel to express our souls that our language is not enough to express. So there's levels and multiple layers of ourselves that we are not capable to express into words, no matter what the language is. So yes, art in general is extremely important for us to express and to evolve, to reconnect with our source, and also to heal the world, our collective, our social environment, to communicate, right? How many of us has had a very strong response to a painting in the wall from an artist or something, right? A piece of theater, like a movie. So many, all the kinds of arts are very important, not only to the artist to express, but for all of us to express, and also to all of us to communicate with each other and to bring healing through our art. So artists, for example, they bring content and ideas that is usually ahead of their time. So and that's not by chance. They can channel, like Debussy said once, that the artist is the channel of music. Music exists before the musician, before the composer, and then the musician is only a channel. So they are pretty much the mediums of music, and the same way with all kinds of arts. So you are probably eventually depriving yourself to bringing something to the world, to your artistic production, even if you have not been academically trained in any kind of art. You can express yourself and you can bring messages, you can bring healing to others through as you heal yourself, you can also heal others. So,
and this is true. It's just touched a point for me that it's very inspiring, actually, because, between mediums, we have the artist mediums that channel spirit onto a drawing, being that representing a person, for instance, or a child, or even an animal. But how about music composition? Surely enough, there is this, there have been geniuses like Mozart, for instance, where, as you said, they might have had the skills from a previous life, from a past life, but to be able to express that complexity of music, it must be also a divine gift in a way that it's some some composers are able to express their connection of their own soul to the divine. Do you know of any composers that are known for this in particular, other than being geniuses, I suppose?
I think all of them are, but they are not aware.
That's true.
And that's the thing, like spirits uses everything we have, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all can express ourselves in whichever level we are, whichever level of expertise we have in whichever field. But the more we perfect ourselves in whatever field, if you are like a superb planter, right? You know to take care of a plant so well, and you have dedicated so many years of your life learning about different kind of plants, different soils, different this. Even if you're not a farmer, agronomist, you have, this is your expertise. If you bake very well, like develop your skills as a baker, because the spirit uses everything we are, everything we have. They have, is like, for example, you're talking about the healing through the doctors in the other in the spiritual world, right? They have developed their skills when they were here.
Exactly.
When they were here, not there.
No.
They developed their souls through different incarnations, but their expertise they developed when they were incarnated. So we have the ability when we are here to develop whatever expertise, and God uses all we have, our minds, our voices, our bodies, our skills, everything, to help each other and to help to grow humanity.
And Phyllis just actually mentioned Mercury retrograde, which I believe we've just come out of. We are in the shadow. Yeah, that's correct. Thank you. And the full moon are always perfect time to remember, reintegrate, and reconnect to source.
Absolutely, yes.
And there is something amazing that, we need to remember that we go through stages in our lives where we can always use music to do all sorts of things to help us heal and bring the healing. And when we have the vibrations that are being brought on by the different planetary movements and positions, we can actually, help us tune into that subconscious state of being that you were talking about earlier on. So be it with the music and the sound and the movement that we subconsciously perceive, just like as we do with the moon, right? Because we are subjected to the high tides and low tides, when it comes to the moon movement. And so it doesn't mean that because we have other planets further afield that we are not being influenced subconsciously by that. Val is also saying, I cared for a man in persistent vegetative state who responded to my voice, eye contact and touch, and survived against medical odds. How amazing is that, right?
Yeah. Yes, you're absolutely right. That's wonderful you have this experience, because yes, and he would feel also your intentions and your energy and stuff, right? And so you were there to care for him, and there's care and care, right? When we really want to help someone, or if you're just doing your task to make money, there's a totally different thing, right?
Yes, that's correct. That's right. And there is this thing about giving services medium, but actually it's one of the professions that provide a service to humans, because we have the beautiful and fantastic nurses and doctors, and the other services like fire brigade and all of those people that actually help others to save lives in any way possible. And it was my talking to Val about this. I've had a friend, unfortunately, whose husband has had a very traumatic push bike accident, and he was being left in a persistent vegetative state. And when I went to visit him in a hospital, they were trying to understand whether he could understand what was going on around him. And when I walked close to him and I came into he had open eyes, but he wasn't moving them. When I appeared onto him, close to him, and I touched his hand, and she asked me to do Reiki to him, he had tears shedding from his eyes. So whether there was him remembering me or thinking, oh, I remember Daniela, because we were like, I was actually maid of honor to their wedding. So obviously he knew me quite well. But I feel whether it's been the energy of the Reiki that made him, so we connected to some extent, energetically speaking, and that brought him back for a moment or two, and just as Val was confirming, that even in those states, the soul is still there, isn't it, Sandra?
Yeah, sometimes they are perceiving everything in an environment, but they just cannot respond, right? They can even hear everything that's being said and all that. So sometimes they are aware, and it's not necessarily that they are unconscious. So it's fascinating. So the tears is definitely, he was feeling the love of the healing that you are sharing with him. It's a divine love, and it's overwhelmingly indescribable, right? Like when you receive that spiritual healing is a different dimension that is wonderful. I really
understand that tears don't come easily to us because it takes like movement of certain muscles of our face to produce. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, we have come to the end, unfortunately, of another podcast, but what an amazing experience, Sandra. I must admit, I think I would listen to you for another 2 hours if I could, but I'm pretty sure that, you would need also to take a breather and, but hopefully we will have you again sometime back in the new year if you want to join us, and we will talk about other things. But it's been really, really amazing. And I want to say thank you for bringing your love, your knowledge, your wisdom. And, you are also a spiritual minister. So you do also, and I have followed you in some of your demonstrations, and I'm quite always blown away by the amount of love that you're able to emanate through your mediumship. And it's such an honor. Thank you very much for having.
Thank you so much, Daniela. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. Congratulations again for this wonderful platform with so many wonderful people sharing their experiences and bringing, our consciousness to higher levels as humanity. Thank you very much for all of you who are here with us in Zoom and following us on YouTube and Facebook and all Daniela's channels. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I look forward to see you again.
Thank you very much, Sandra, and good night, everyone. God bless.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.